I think you're sleeping. Come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. And joining me right now, all the way from beautiful, some undisclosed location, the infamous Jeremy C., and from St. Simon's Island, Sal, Rocky, Cenicola. What's up, fellas?
What's up, man?
What's going on, Sal? Are you there, or are you still doing other things? What are you doing? Okay,
Hello?
Well, Sal, are you there, Sal?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Okay, glad you could be part of the show this morning. What are you guys up to today? Looks like it's another nice day, so I hope we don't lose any power like yesterday. Wasn't that freaky?
Oh, that was funny.
Jeez, I mean, you would normally think that on a day where the wind is blowing, maybe some bad weather or something, I could deal with some power outages, but on a beautiful day, I mean, what was up with that, man?
That was crazy.
Crazy is right. Talk about crazy, man. Before we get the show started, I got a bunch of emails to go over. We got some news. Today's official, I don't know, maybe my main topic today. Boxing has become the WWE, man. You know, like, I know, Jeremy, you're a big WWE fan. You know,
I used to be when I was a little kid.
Exactly, and that's what it's all about. You know, I mean, it's geared for kids, and, it's fake. For anybody out there, I know. I was just gonna say, for anybody out there, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it's not real, but predetermined bouts, and who's gonna win, etc., etc. Well, boxing has become that, man, and we're starting to get villains and all this stuff. I'm gonna get to a little bit later. We got some scores, we got the emails, like I said, we got some news. But before we get started, Sal, you're in St. Simon's Island, Georgia, and I love that area. I'm not nothing against Georgia in general, but where you are, it's paradise. It really is, and I've had the pleasure and luxury of going down and spending some time with Sal, especially at his restaurant, Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian restaurant, which, by the way, the food is fantabulous. But I couldn't
go for some pizza right now. I know
it's more than pizza, man. It's more than pizza. Yeah. But Sal, what's with this? I mean, being a guy that doesn't have much money, occasionally I like to play the lotto. I guess it's kind of deadly in Georgia, huh?
It sure is. It's crazy. You see more people spending money on lottery tickets and the lotto down here too every day. It's their form of legal gambling down here.
Well, one of my points is that I don't know if you caught the news this morning, but apparently someone in your state of Georgia won a lottery. And then 7 people murdered the person trying to take the money from it. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, listen, I like to buy a lottery ticket every now and then, Jeremy. But what's the deal? I mean, you don't want to take a risk of buying a lottery ticket, and walk out of the convenience store and getting popped for it,
Whoa,
that's a little aggressive.
I would think,
Yeah, you know what? Now there's 2 ways to win the lotto. You either win it or you kill the guy that won.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You hit the lotto, you just you buy a lotto and you watch who hits it, and then you hit them,
That's why it's very
that's
important.
Called the unlucky lottery.
Yeah.
You sign that ticket. That's the second chance lotto.
Tell you. Hey, listen, don't feel left out, Sal, or Jeremy. Don't you feel left out, because it was reported also. And this is what I love about doing this particular show, because this kind of stuff catches my eye. But here I'm looking at, somebody buying a lotto ticket in Georgia and getting whacked, 7 people. And in New York, a nurse has to lose her career because she got caught taking photos of a comatose guy's private area. You know what I mean? You know, and I mean, think about when you're under the knife, right? And you're you know, you're out. Who the hell knows what they're doing, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, every time I go to my dentist for a physical, and he removes my pants, you know, it's just weird.
It is kind of weird, you know, and when they don't take their watch off, it's even worse, you know. I mean, geez.
I love my dentist.
Yeah, apparently he loves you too. But hey, guys, remember? I think yesterday for the 12 minutes that we started chatting before we lost power.
Show.
It was.
We worked so hard yesterday.
I told you guys that we've kind of adopted a Division III baseball team, the Keene State Owls, and their banner is up on the website www.billycboxing.com. Check them out. They're 7-7 right now, and today they're going to be playing Trinity out of Connecticut at 3:30. We listen. We're trying to turn this season around. They're 7-7 right now, so hopefully now that we've officially adopted them, they can go on a win streak and maybe do something with this damn season, you know?
What does this adoption thing mean? What do we do? Do we have to do their laundry? I mean, do we got to feed them? What's the details?
No, hey, if any of them are listening, don't be putting ideas in their heads, you know? I mean,
Bill loves doing laundry, guys.
You know,
just drop your laundry off at Bill's house. The address.
Yeah. 555. You know, but I want to. You know what? I wanted to do other sports type stuff, and this is a team. I love college sports, and I actually don't watch as much college baseball as I do college football. But Division III kids that are really trying to get somewhere at a division that doesn't get as much news or recognition or whatever. I figured, hey, let's work with this team. Keene State Owls. So if you want to learn more about them, and they're actually. Their defense is a little suspect, and I know that their pitchers are the older kids on this team. 7-7, they have a team average, batting average 282, which isn't too bad. If you want to learn more about the Keene State Owls, check out our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the Keene Owls banner, which is on the left-hand side.
Nice.
I know you're doing that right away, right?
Yeah, don't you hear me clicking?
I hear you. And I know Sal's a big college baseball fan too, right, Sal?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He lives for it.
Sal's just going, how does this mic and headset work?
Hey, I'm just figuring it out now. It's working here.
It sounds great.
Hey, I got an email.
I had to go to Walmart 3 o'clock in the morning to pick up the headset.
See some stuff at Walmart.
I missed my window of opportunity yesterday with Radio Shack. And we were mobbed yesterday doing pizza. And I didn't get out till very late last night. Then by the time I pulled up to Waldwick in Brunswick, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then by the time I got through there and found the right headset for the mic, nobody knew what they were doing. I just had to match it up, and I picked up this one. I don't even know what it's called, but it seems to work.
I want to know, at Walmart at 1 a.m., more people wearing pants or no pants?
I don't even want to go there. Let me tell you something.
But they probably have
the show. It's entertaining.
They probably have the plumber's pants on, right?
Oh yeah.
But so we got to give Sal a lot of credit, Jared, because Sal, when I told him, when you gave me the strict instructions like you like to do about this specific brand of mic and everything he needed, driver. I go to Sal. Okay, now listen. Here it is, Sal. We made it really easy for you. Here's the link. Go to Best Buy. He goes, whoa, wait a minute. I got to drive to Jacksonville, Florida for Best Buy. I go, Jacksonville, Florida? He's got to drive an hour to Jacksonville. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, well, we don't have any Best Buys around here. Can I get it at Radio Shack? No, Jeremy C. gave us strict instructions. You cannot go to Radio Shack. But the guy had it. He didn't know how to plug it. He didn't know how to plug it in on Monday, but he had it, So, hey, today's main topic, fellas, is like I said about the boxing has officially become the WWE. I always got to give my man Coach credit because he happens to be in the chat room right now. For anybody watching or listening on a live stream, come on over to the chat room, www.billycboxing.com, and click the thing that says. I know it's a little confusing. Exactly. I know it's a little confusing, but click on where it says chat room, But my man Coach has been saying that boxing is like the WWE for a couple of years now, since he's been listening to the show. But check this out. Adrian Broner's fighting this weekend against Ashley Theophane. And the bottom line is, Adrian Broner is kind of a clown. I think he's got a lot of talent and everything else. But this is where the WWE steps in. He is fighting a guy that, for all intent purposes, even if you want to give Ashley Theophane a shot in hell of winning, it is what it is, right? But here's the part. They've already established this feud between him and Floyd Mayweather. And to top it all off, because he was talking smack about Floyd Mayweather, all of a sudden a warrant goes out for Adrian Broner's arrest last week for beating up some guys that he was losing money to in a bowling alley. I mean, the story is just crazy, right? And I've gotten a lot of comments from people that are in the know and behind the scenes stuff. And the word on the street is that Floyd Mayweather was the guy who picked up the phone and dropped the dime on Adrian Broner. What's up with that, man?
What a rat!
I know. Sal, could you imagine that happening 25 years ago?
Well, actually, it's.
I just did that.
There are stories when fighters would call each other to ask for title fights or do things like that. But this is a little bit. No. What this is Floyd Mayweather likes to be the center of attention. Okay, all the time.
So now he's so-called retired, and as soon as somebody else is making the press, and Adrian Broner was talking smack about him. Next thing you know, he's got a bench warrant out for his arrest. But here's where more WWE comes in motion, because Mayweather now is going to be at the press conference, the final press conference for the Broner-Ashley Theophane fight in Washington, D.C., and to me, it just seems like they're setting up a typical, Mean Gene. It's like, to me,
something, Mean Gene.
Exactly. And what are they going to push each other? And, it's going to be like, and are people really believing this crap? I just don't get it. You really think people are believing it, or has boxing become the WWE?
They're doing anything they can to promote, to be out there, the center of attention, and if there's going to be tickets sold, they're going to sell them. It's crazy.
Yeah, but my point is what makes boxing so great, Sal. The fights of the 80s and prior. There was pride. The fighters had some pride. Of course, there was some guys that maybe didn't have so much pride, and of course, there was your proverbial punching bag. But the bottom line is that the business. You still worked your way up and ended up getting a title shot and then fighting for a title, of course. But now it just seems these guys are fighting nobodies. And then they get all the accolades, and the fans are buying into it. That's the part I don't get.
The fans are doing that. They do it. They're wanting to be part of something that doesn't deserve that kind of attention right now. You know what? Boxing has always been the sport that has evolved, and people come in to see entertainment by two combatants getting in the middle of the ring and fighting out to see who's the better fighter.
Yeah, and
just plain and simple. Peel the layers away. That's all we're doing.
Listen, we got to take a quick break here, but one thing I want to mention, my man Coach in the chat room is saying, how about Washington, D.C., not honoring the warrant that the state of Ohio has out for him? And they have. He's right. They've publicly said, we're not going to try to execute help in the state of Ohio get Adrian Broner, because they know where he is. He's in Washington, D.C. right now, so crazy stuff. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. C Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C Morning Show, and I want to thank the people that make this show possible. Of course, my man Sal, Rocky Cenicola, and Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria. If you're in St. Simon's Island, or if you're heading south from the north, if you're going from the north to the south, make sure you stop by Sal's. It's 5 minutes out of your way off of I-95. Check out the Delicioso food that's on his website, and that'll make you stop, I'm sure. www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328. That's 912-268-2328. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by JKJ Boxing and their new magazine. It's for free. It's scheduled to come out right now 4 times a year. You can get a copy for free. You can either download a copy that you can print out and read if you want, read it online, or just pay for the postage and get the magazine for free delivered to your house, like the one I just held up in front of the camera. Visit www.billycboxing.com and click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine, which is on the right-hand side. Now, that cover is going to change every time there's a new issue, so the issue that's up there now is the current issue. And, of course, my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to the Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you could literally get a copy of it right now on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Now, I'm being joined right now by the infamous Jeremy C. and Sal Rocky Cenicola, who, all of a sudden I think of Sal and I think of a plain cheese pie that I'm
yes,
sure
we were waiting for you, Bill.
I'm like, geez, but anyway, we're talking about boxing being similar to the WWE, and excuse me, and David Hay, who's definitely could be a WWE character, has announced his next opponent, Arnold Jabal. I can't even. These guys. They listen. Well. Okay. I have trouble with the English language, let alone So the guy's first name is Arnold. Okay. So you tell me, Jeremy C., Mr. English major, you tell me, how do you pronounce? And let me spell it for you. So you got a pen? Can you write this down?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's GJERGJAJ.
Oh my God, that's so easy. Seriously?
Yeah, how do you say it?
It's pronounced Arnold.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Why don't you give it a shot, Sal? How do you think? What do you think that last name is?
All right, I'm going to GJ. How is it?
GJERGJAJ.
Elemental P.
Exactly. I mean, the best I could say is maybe Jergja. I don't know.
It's Jerj.
Jerj?
Yeah, the J is silent. The G is hard. Jerj.
So what's J? There's 3 J's in this name. So which J happens to be silent? All of them? So because the way you're pronouncing it, GJ, we go. Oh, so
go with it.
Listen. So the bottom line is when you see names like that,
Jersey,
just start picking letters out that we want to make silent. That you know what? I love Sal's pronunciation.
Wait,
methods.
I'm going to pronounce it. I'm going to make a couple letters silent. I think it's Arnold. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Make the whole last name. That's why I prefer going by nicknames. His nickname, the Cobra, much easier. But from and by the way, this is my whole point about David Hay. Being like WWE. Here's a guy, and I guarantee you that David Hay is gonna get a title shot soon, right? I guarantee he's gonna get a title shot. And these are the types of opponents that he's fighting. Now, here's where my argument comes in, Sal, all the time. Because Arnold GJ, according to Sal, is 29-0 with 21 knockouts. Now, and he happens to be rated in the top 30 by the computer. He's ranked at number 29. You notice how I say top 30? That makes it sound really good. Hanging right in there at number 29. But the bottom line is this. Aside from one guy on his resume of 29 fights, Denis Bakatov, I've never heard of any of them. And this is how boxing has become. So when they bring this in to these young fans, these fans are going to look at this guy's record, and what are they going to say, Sal? 29-0, 21 knockouts. What are they going to say?
They're going to say, where has he been? He deserves a title shot.
No.
Let's go see what he could do.
Right. Well, you and I are going to say, well, who's he fought? What's those 29?
Yeah,
but these guys are going to say, 29-0, oh, man, he must be good. And that's it.
Yeah,
they drink the Kool-Aid, you know? Not the Kool-Aid Jeremy serves, but, you know, they drink the Kool-Aid nonetheless.
It's a little spiked.
Yeah, a little spiked. You know, so David Hay, you watch, you know, he's going to beat up these guys and get a shot. But then, you know, to counter that, you know, you always keep grounded in the sport of boxing because Joseph Parker, who's an up-and-coming heavyweight, is scheduled to fight again May 21st against Carlos Takam. And that, my friends, is going to be a good fight because Joseph Parker has been moving up. And this guy, Carlos Takam, is a good fighter what's his record? I don't have it in front of me, but he's a good fighter. He's going to be a good test for Joseph Parker. So that fight, I happen to like. In case you guys are wondering that.
That sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. I like it too.
Yeah, you like it too. Yeah, what's your thoughts on that fight, Jeremy?
That fight I like.
Yeah. The guys are going to hit each other, you know, Bill?
Yeah. You know, and Sal, you know what the old saying is, hey, what do you think about that fight? Well, you know, I think it's a 50-50 fight. Hey, there you go. Okay, moving right along.
You know, two guys enter, one guy goes down.
That's right. Hey, that's a good. Hey, wow. That's you know, that's sort of like that. I've heard that somewhere
novel
before.
idea.
Yeah, I've heard that somewhere before. You know, but back to the WWE scenarios. Billy Joe Saunders against Daniel Jacobs. They're calling each other out. These are two guys that are avoiding one of Sal's favorite fighters today, Triple G. You know, both of them claim that they're middleweight champions. Neither one of them are. Nobody calls out Triple G, Sal. I wonder why.
Gee, maybe because he's willing to face and fight any opponent that they can put in front of him, and because he's the real deal.
There's no question. And Billy Joe Saunders was demanding all this money, and he got offered a lot of money to fight Triple G, and he didn't take it. And he said, "Well, I'm ready for Triple G." And then the next thing I know, after his last fight, and then the next thing I know, Daniel Jacobs is calling him out. Now, Danny Jacobs, you know, I'm still not sold on Daniel Jacobs. Although he does seem to be exciting, I'm still not sold. And although I actually like the Daniel Jacobs against Billy Joe Saunders fight, I like it. But here's my hang-up. My hang-up is that all the naysayers, predominantly Floyd Mayweather fans, all discredit Triple G. And their argument is Triple G doesn't fight anybody. How can you fight anybody, Sal, when nobody wants to get in the ring with the guy? How can you criticize him? How can you criticize him for not fighting these level fighters when they won't fight him? I don't get it.
That is unbelievable, and it's true. No, here he is. Believe me, I didn't know Triple G from any other G in the alphabet.
He didn't know Triple G from double C.
or I didn't know him from Jerjay. That G.
Hey, but I'll tell you what, it's a hell of a lot easier to pronounce Triple G, isn't it?
Hey, man. That's why we call him Triple G. If you have the other ones, you'd be having to enunciate those vowels.
Crazy, man. They're afraid to step in the ring with him. But I know I'm losing you guys here in about 5 minutes, but I got to get your thoughts on it. Let's jump out of boxing for a second. I got to get your, and by the way, I got a bunch of emails I'm going to read, so don't worry. Everybody that got their emails in, I'll get to them a little bit later in the show. Trump, Donald Trump. You know, I mean, listen, you can't make this up. Talk about TV and reality TV. Donald Trump. You know, obviously, you know, this year's presidential race is between. Well, so far it looks like the two front runners are both, in my opinion, and yes, let's get political. Are both pretty bad choices in you know, Donald Trump and of course Hillary Clinton. But Trump, who vowed to stick with the Republican Party because they were so afraid that he was going to really divvy up the party, which he's pretty much been successful at doing right about now. He changed his mind, you know, and he decided that he was going to drop his pledge to the Republican Party should he not be elected as the GOP frontrunner. What's your thoughts on that one, Jeremy? I know you're a big political guy.
I'm not that big, but you know what? Look, if somebody's not supporting you, why should you support them, right? The RNC is clearly not supporting him. They're trying to do everything they can to, to stop the Trump phenomenon. So screw them, I agree with them.
Well, the thing is that, and I hate to, admit it, but the one thing I like about Trump is the fact that he's not your typical politician. And the thing about Trump, what I would think he would do is I think that he would hire, because of his ego, and let's face it, his ego is pretty big, bigger than Teddy Atlas's ego. But the truth of the matter is I'm convinced that because of his ego and because he wants to do such a good job, I'm convinced that he would surround himself with people that actually know what they're doing, not that he knows what he's doing as a president.
I just want to point out one major thing, and this is why Trump is so popular right now, because all three Republican candidates were asked that same question last night. Kasich and Cruz both didn't answer the question. They wouldn't say, no, I won't. They circled around it, He asked Trump, he says, no, I'm not going to support him. Yeah. Whatever. That's their problem.
Sal, that Cruz sends out pictures of Trump's wife, in bikinis, and she's hot, she's gorgeous. Everybody's like, yeah, send us more. And how does Trump counter? He sends a very unflattering photo of Cruz's wife. This is what politics has become, or what?
You know what? You want to talk about the World Circus Sports, and this is the WFC right here. I mean, politics. When we all were introduced to politics as young kids, we all took our favorites there based on what our parents thought. A lot of times, but even at that young age, we looked at politics as a serving of an office for the people by the people. Today, you have the Republican Party equally as guilty as the DNC, the Democratic Party. These people are power hungry, and it's for me and my party today versus for the people by the people. Right. And what I love about Trump's excitement, what he brings to the field, is this: he is getting the support of all the people that are tired of the same bull. I used to be a charter member, a card-carrying RNC member. I worked on Bush's campaign, and I love the conservative movement, the conservative ways and principles and values. I no longer could even call myself a Republican because they've gotten themselves so distant from the principles. And if you could see what's going on right now, they're trying to derail Trump, going out blatantly, making an effort, and instead of supporting him, getting behind him and saying, okay, hey, guess what? We're going to grow. We're going to evolve. We're going to listen to what the people of the United States are saying. And that's why Trump is so popular right now, because the unhappy people that have seen for the last 50 years politics as usual and these big machines behind the politicians, that's what's driving this country, and it's going to rip us apart. They got to stand together in unity under one nation.
How Cenicola! Hail South Cenicola! Rocky!
And another thing, I'm going to tell you, I want, just because your people are my people. I know before this fight, a lot of yous didn't like me very much either.
Well, listen, fellas, I appreciate.
I'm telling you, it's a pathetic situation.
No.
The RNC should get behind Trump, should say, hey, we're listening to our constituents, our people, and we're going to try and modify and do what we have to do to get everybody unified right now.
Well, listen, the Republican Party has become a reality show. It's kind of a joke, and the Democrats are no better. And that's the whole thing. We need a reboot. But one last thought, Jeremy.
Go, but I got breaking news right here. This just in. Donald Trump hires Vince McMahon as new campaign.
There you go. I knew it. You see, Vince McMahon is in the picture, But, hey, listen, fellas, I appreciate it today. We're going to get Hall of Famer Larry Hazzard on the phone here in a sec. But I look forward to you guys tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. And tell Larry I said hello.
got
Larry
it.
is a class act. I love Larry Hazzard.
Tell Larry I said hello, too.
Refereed a lot of my amateur fights and my professional fights on ESPN. Larry Hazzard was always a class act, class gentleman.
Sounds good, man. I'll mention
hello too, and
I
then
will,
Jeremy.
and I'll mention you too, Jeremy. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's the infamous Jeremy C. Sal Rocky Cenicola. I'm gonna have Larry Hazzard on in about 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Now let's dig into our archives and hear a rare interview when Billy C. first became the champion of boxing talk radio. Hello, Billy C. As the new champ, can we ask you a few questions?
Why, certainly.
Okay, your fans would like to know how you and your corner have successfully walloped the competition.
We're not ordinary people. We're morons.
Anything else?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Did your success finally come when you made the show 5 days a week for 2 hours? What do you think?
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Now, please tell the listeners what you've learned from making it this far.
Certainly. If at first you don't succeed, keep on sucking till you do succeed.
Great words of wisdom, Billy C. Keep up the great work as the undisputed People's Champion with your show, Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Any last words to anyone who's listening?
This is your fault, you bonehead.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show right here on BillyCBoxing.com, YouTube / Boxing, KHZ Audio, and wherever else you're listening. Glad you could join us. Today's show is being brought to us in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. You can get a copy for free. It's going to be so far, a quarterly publication that's available for free. Check out all the information, www.BillyCBoxing.com. Click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine, which is on the right-hand side. Get yourself a copy. You can either download it or pay for the postage and have the hard copy sent to you. Either way, it's a must-read. And I told you guys I'm going to be doing my column again on a weekly basis, and we are going to put some stuff in JKJ Boxing. So make sure you start to check that out. Joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey boxing commissioner who's got his feet up on the desk right now is my man, Larry Hazzard. What's up, brother?
Hey, Billy, how you doing, man?
Good, man. You got your coffee, you got your bagel. I mean, is this going to be a typical morning thing now or what?
Hey, this is okay, man. You know, I get here at 7 in the morning, so I'm wide awake, and I do some of my best work early in the morning, so
do I.
It's all right with me.
So do I, man.
Good
and
change. Yeah.
I feel like I got more energy, and it's funny. We actually did a morning show once before, and we aired when I first got on the TV station. We aired 5 to 7 a.m. So I used to have to get up 2 in the morning, to write the show and everything else. And the night before, I'd be going to bed at 5, 6 o'clock, So by 10 in the morning, I'm ready for dinner, I mean, it's like, it's like, when you get up early, you grab a coffee at 6 in the morning and by 10 o'clock when people are still rubbing the sand out of their eyes, you're ready for a sandwich, So, crazy stuff. But anyway, I appreciate you. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you rolling with the changes, and the show wouldn't be the same without you. So we appreciate that big time. But this past weekend, Andre Ward got back in the ring and fought Sullivan Barrera, and looked pretty good. And here, let me just give you some of my thoughts, and then I want your full thoughts on the fight and Andre Ward and where he goes from here and everything else quickly. My thoughts were that he looked great. I mean, he really did, right? But I got to say a but, because everybody, and like we talked about last week and everything else, everybody's already anointed him as the pound for pound #1 guy because Floyd left and all of this stuff. And although he's got an extremely impressive resume, really in the last 5 years, he hasn't fought anybody until Barrera, who somebody had rated at #1. And now everybody wants to stick him right back in that #1 pound for pound spot. And I have a hard time with it, because I'm not saying he did not look good, because he did. I mean, he really did. But at the end of the fight, I came up with a couple of thoughts. Number one, I don't think he can beat Kovalev. And the reason why isn't because of his boxing skill, because he clearly has way more boxing skill than Sergey Kovalev. But I don't think that he could hurt Kovalev. He couldn't hurt Barrera. That knockdown was a flash knockdown. And I think that he could get hurt by Kovalev. That's number one. And number two, I still believe that Andre Ward, even though I was impressed that the fan base that was there for that event in California were there for him. They were cheering his name and everything else, which was a first for me. I never heard that before. But I know we've talked about this before. He doesn't seem to have that it factor. Floyd Mayweather, people loved him, people hate him, whatever. So I think his style is boring at times. But you know what? I'm watching his fights. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm waiting for something. Floyd brings that out in you. Mike Tyson, of course, had it. Sugar Ray Leonard, etc., etc. Ward, as talented as he is, doesn't seem to have it. It's like I'm watching his fight. I'm seeing him do all these great things, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do after the fight. I'm thinking about, other things. It's like I have a hard time focusing on him. What's your full thoughts on Andre Ward and his fight last week?
Well, I agree with you on several points, except that, to me, something is missing. I didn't really think that the fight was that great. I didn't think that he looked that good. Okay, I thought he looked okay, but he didn't look good enough for me to say, okay, now he's ready for Kovalev. I agree with you on the point that, I think I'm a little skeptical about whether he could beat Kovalev for a few reasons. One, Kovalev, natural 175-pounder, he looks so comfortable at that weight. Kovalev reminds me of the perfect fighter for that weight class. And I often think back to Michael Spinks when he fought light heavyweight. He's got the right height. He's got the right body build. He's got that linear ectomorphic body build. He's got those long arms. He's got that stance. He looks so comfortable at 175, which Andre is not used to that weight class. He's moving up there. And I was saying to myself, watching that fight with Sullivan Barrera, well, I think he needs one or two more before he tries to take Kovalev. He needs one or two more. I really fear him moving right from that fight to Kovalev, because it's going to be very difficult, in my opinion. Now, as far as pound for pound, I don't know if I agree with that based off of that one fight that we just saw. Okay, prior to that fight, when he was, on his way up, he certainly was headed in that direction, in my view. And he still probably could get there if he's successful you know, especially if he does fight Kovalev and beats him. Then, of course, you have to give him his due. But at this point, based on that fight, I don't see pound for pound in the equation. I don't see him necessarily. I fear the fight in terms of him beating Kovalev. And Kovalev, to me, is just beaming with confidence that, you know, he could beat Ward. I mean, he's made statements about he'd like to beat him right there in his own hometown, things like that. You know, fighters don't talk like that unless they really, really feel very confident. And he just looks confident. As far as power is concerned, Kovalev has that hidden power, you know, for guys in that weight class. You know, you've seen him, you know, how you saw what he did when he fought the great Bernard Hopkins. You saw the power. You saw him in his last outing. You know that he's for real. I haven't seen that with Andre, especially in the fight. And this guy was telling me for Andre Ward in terms of bringing out many of the skills that we're talking about. Because Barrera was really not your typical Cuban fighter in terms of the way that the Cuban fighters coming through that amateur program that they had, where they were so dynamic. He was, I would probably in the B division, okay, and a safe fight for Andre coming back at this point. So, you know, that's my overall summary and assessment of Andre Ward, who happens to be one of my favorites.
Right.
But you know, I'm looking at this thing as objectively as I can, and I really would like to see him have a few more fights before he steps up to the task of Sergey Kovalev, who's the big ticket.
You know, one last thing on this. I got a question from somebody in the chat room for you, and I wanted to give you Sal Rocky Cenicola, who I just had on the show. He joins us in the mornings here. Wanted me to say hello. He fought many times in Atlantic City. You refereed some of his fights, and
what's his name again?
Sal Rocky Cenicola. He wanted me to tell you. Hello.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, I asked you once before.
Yeah.
I asked you, was that the same Sal Cenicola? He's from over in the Passaic area, I believe, in New Jersey.
Yeah,
Am I correct?
Yeah, he was from down there. He was from down there. He's got a successful restaurant in St. Simon's Island, Georgia, Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Restaurant, Italian restaurant. Great food there. And he joins us in the morning, and he wanted me to make sure I said hello.
Oh, yeah, he was terrific. He was a very exciting fighter, you know.
Oh, I know.
I refereed several of his fights.
Yeah, and not only that, but next week we're going to do some. I got a little surprise for you next week. We're going to have somebody come on that has been watching a collection of some great fights that you were the referee on, and we're going to get your thoughts from him. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good, some good stuff. But anyway, my one last opinion on your thoughts on Andre Ward about the one or two more fights before he faces Kovalev, and a lot of other people feel the same way as you. But here's the thing, you know, I can't stand that because, you know, here's Andre Ward. In one breath, people are saying he's a pound-for-pound #1 fighter. You look at his resume, and listen, we got to give him credit where credit's due. The guy has fought some really, really tough opposition. There's no question about it. To suggest that he needs to, you know, tune his skill or fine-tune his skill to face Kovalev, the only argument somebody could make is, well, he's got to get used to the weight. But that's something that, you know, I don't know, man. I think that, you know, he's not getting any younger. He's actually younger than Kovalev. If they're going to fight, let's get it over with, you know. But anyway, I got a question for you from my man Coach in the chat room, and it's a really good one. This past weekend, unfortunately, another negative thing happened in the sport of boxing in a middleweight fight between Blackwell and Eubank Jr. And Blackwell was in an induced coma. And there's a lot of discussion going on about why that fight wasn't stopped. As a matter of fact, my man Dax Khan, who's part of this show big time, also behind the scenes a lot, he had sent me a video clip, and And Eubanks' corner was actually, they were thinking of stopping the fight and taking the loss on themselves. The father, right? You know, I know. And they're thinking about stopping the fight just to protect Blackwell. And his father had to say, listen, let the referee do the job. What was up with that? What, you would have never stood for that in Jersey. But, when do these referees have to, be accountable for doing something that, I know it's a judgment call, and I know I wasn't in the ring, but what's your quick thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, once again, I mean, Billy, we've talked about this many, many times. Some of these guys think that they're on display. Others, they get highway hypnosis watching the fight. It was a pretty exciting. The fight was a rather exciting fight. Blackwell was fighting back, okay, but it's just one of those phenomenal things that happen. And then, of course, you have some of these referees with this philosophy, I'll let the fighters settle it. You've heard that before, and they skate through, unfazed by some of these situations, okay? But the fight should have been stopped. And it's very unfortunate, but it's going to keep happening like that until these guys are sat down. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, no, it's a shame, because we don't need any more black eyes on the sport, and it's a good sport if it's maintained right, and there's always a fine line. They stopped it too soon, they stopped it too late, and that's going to be the battle cry for the referee, but. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, if the opposite corner sees something, I don't know. It's a shame.
Well, and a lot of times the referees don't use the better judgment of going over to the corner, asking the fighter questions. This referee wasn't doing any of that. You go anytime there's a exciting exchange of punches, fighters getting hit. In the head. It's always a good idea to go over to the corner, have the doctor come up. Even if he doesn't appear to be in any danger, those blows take their toll. And, of course, it's always good for referees to be knowledgeable of this whole thing, all of these facts surrounding concussions and the type of damage that these types of blows to the head can do. It's just an ongoing thing where people have to continue to educate themselves. And then, of course, you have the administration there. You have the boxing commission there. You have, the doctors sitting at ringside. They have to begin to feel that it's a part of their responsibilities also. They can't just leave everything up to the referee. I mean, I remember for years, I was accused of, interfering with the referee. How many Fight 5 stops just from sitting at ringside or in between rounds? I would call a referee over and tell him, stop this fight, man. What the hell's going on here? You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know what the answer is to why some of these. All I say is that referees and corner people are some of the bravest people in boxing because they don't take the punches. You understand?
Yep.
So that's all I can say.
No, you're right, and that is, and that goes back to something we've talked about a gazillion times, where we don't have the right trainers in place anymore. You got rah-rah men, you got nutrition specialists, and they're the guys that are being real tough, and even known trainers like Freddie Roach. He makes comments sometimes that you got to know when to say when. Fight another day. Even the best in history said, "Hey, Joe Frazier, you'll live to fight another day, kid." And come on, But
you have to have the attitude. Everybody that's not fighting, okay, especially those of us who are responsible for having some input of putting these guys in the ring, we have to have an attitude that we also have to protect them from themselves. Because these are real gladiators.
They should be, right. They should be, and somebody has to protect them.
Yes, we have to protect them from themselves because, it's a shameful thing for most of these guys to quit. We're always pumping that, you got to fight, you got to fight. They grow up, they come through this whole boxing experience feeling that I got to go out on my shield and all of these types of comments that they begin to believe. And many of these guys are willing to put their lives on the line. That's why I didn't have a problem. I forgot that kid's name who actually quit and said that, he didn't want to take any more punishment. Some years back.
That was Victor Ortiz.
Victor Ortiz. Okay? I didn't have any problem with what he did.
No,
I should do that.
But the only problem I had, and I did, mention this, my opinion, it's the way he said it. When he said nobody should take punishment like this, the way I took it as, nobody. If you're a carpenter or a restaurant owner or a lawyer or a construction worker, whatever, they're not supposed to take. But if you sign on to be a professional fighter, you got to figure out that you're gonna, take some shots. But the point that he was trying to make, it just didn't come out right, is what you agree with.
It didn't come out.
Right. Well, it's like what you agree with. At some point in time, somebody's got to stop the fight. But hey, Larry, one last thing. This weekend, Adrian Broner is fighting Ashley Theophane, and it seems like we got some boxing has become more and more like the WWE with all of this stuff that's going on. Oh my God! And I'm sure we're going to see some pushing and shoving between him and Mayweather and everything else. But as far as the fight itself, Adrian Broner against Theophane, which I like Theophane, I just as much as I don't like Adrian Broner the person, the guy is talented, and I think that this is not going to be a competitive match. What's your thoughts on the fight?
Well, I think it's a safe fight, but I don't know. Maybe the change in the time is affecting this, Billy, because I don't agree with you again on it. I really don't think that Broner's that talented. I think he's a showboat. Okay. As a matter of fact, I think that he really lacks a lot of talent. He has some basic talents, but I don't think he knows what to do with it. But I think this is a safe one for him. I don't see him having too much of a problem with this.
No. Listen, he has left. If you go back and look at when he was a lightweight, he really showed his talent. I think you're right in the respect that he's focused too much on showboating and he's not demonstrating his talent anymore. I agree with that, but I still believe, I've become a non-fan of him, but I still believe he does possess it. Whether he's going to be able to reach down and utilize it and mature enough to do something with his career is yet to be seen. I think he's still a question mark because of what you said, because of his attitude and his shenanigans,
Mm-hmm.
But, well, listen, Larry, I appreciate you coming on early, and maybe the real Larry Hazzard, who agrees with me all the time, will be here next week. But but we are going to have a surprise for you. We are going to have a guy that's in the last several weeks has been going over a lot of fight footage, and my man Larry Hazzard has been a guy as the third man. Yeah. In the 80s, and I talked to him till midnight last night, and he's going, man, I appreciate boxing so much more now. How much better was the 80s? And I'm going, the funny thing is, if you asked me in 1982 if I thought that I was witnessing the last great era of boxing, I would have laughed at you because I thought it was just like normal, and I could have cried about boxing being better years before that, and now when you look at the way they fought then to the way they fight now, and even the business has changed, so we're going to bring specific fights up for you, and we're going to get some of your reminiscing and what it was like. So we're going to have some fun next week for sure.
And you're gonna remind me of fights that I've already forgotten that I did. Most people tell me.
Some of them
in a short period of time, 7 years, man, I must have went around the world 3 or 4 times and done thousands of fights.
Well,
seems like it anyway.
We're gonna keep these to more popular names, so I'm sure you remember them. So it'll be fun. So Larry, again, appreciate you taking the time in the morning, and we'll look forward to you next week, my man.
Okay, me too, Billy. Take care, buddy.
All right, take care. That's my man Larry Hazzard, rolling with us, man. He's rolling with the changes, coming on early in the morning, which I appreciate big time. And next week we're gonna have some fun because I'm not even gonna say who, but somebody that we work together has been in a video room, and we're talking just like I said to Larry. He's talking last night, going, man, all these great fights, and blah, blah, blah. And guess who's the referee? I go, Larry Hazzard. Right, yeah, oh, man, it would be great. I said, listen, why don't we have you come on and do this? And so we put it all together and, just told Larry. Hey, listen, before we take a break, we got the Blast from the Past coming up. As promised, we're doing some other stuff like scores from other sports. So in the NBA last night, the Bulls topped the Pacers 98-96. Nikola Mirotic, 28 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, led the Bulls. The Magic beat the snot out of my Nets, 139-105. Andrew Nicholson, 24 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. The Hornets topped the 76ers, 100-85. Nicholas Batum, 19 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists. My knowledge of basketball, I believe that's a triple-double. And for all you Philadelphia 76ers fans, what a pathetic season. 9 wins, 66 losses for the 76ers after last night's loss to the Hornets. Pistons topped the Thunder in a very close defensive game, 88-82. Marcus Morris, 24.7 rebounds, 2 assists. The Rockets beat the Cavaliers, 106-100. James Harden, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. And the Warriors keep on winning, 102-94 over the Wizards. Draymond Green had 15 points, 16 rebounds, and 9 assists. The Warriors are the opposite of the 76ers. Their record now, 67 wins, 7 losses. And speaking of the Warriors, if you didn't see Steph Curry's steal and dunk last night, check it out. It's all over the internet. Pretty impressive for Steph Curry. But then again, he's impressive. In the NHL, the Devils topped the Bruins 2-1. My Islanders win a game 2-1 over the Hurricanes in a shootout. And speaking of shootouts, the Penguins topped the Sabres 5-4 in a shootout. Canadians 4, Red Wings 3, Maple Leafs 5, Panthers 2, the Wild 4, the Blackhawks 1, the Blues 3, Avalanche 1, Stars 5, Predators 2, and the Sharks beat the Canucks 4-1. In NHL action last night. So that's what's going on around there. Listen, we got some emails to get to. We got some more boxing news, specifically some interesting stuff that like schedules and all of that stuff. We got the Blast from the Past coming up here as soon as we come back from the break. But before we go to break, I just want to say this. Did you catch last week when Vasily Lomachenko trying to lure Nicholas Walters into signing for the fight that everybody kind of wants to see in their division, in the featherweight division, says that he will give him a bunch of money, $300,000 is what I believe he has been quoted as saying of his $1 million purse just to get Walters to sign. Win, lose, or draw, Lomachenko is at least saying that he's going to throw Walters $300,000 out of his own purse. What's your thoughts on that? Is he pulling the wool over our eyes, or do you think he's really going to do it? Drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out the ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Beat Joe Lewis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh?
What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.kofantasyboxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.kofantasyboxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Glad you guys could join us. I want to give a special shout out to all of our radio listeners on ESPN New Hampshire. Glad you guys could join us. And, of course, we're glad to be part of your sports programming. And we appreciate being part of your sports programming. That's for sure. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria. Check it out, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Find out why I can't stop talking about this place. And today's show is also being brought to us in part by the JKJ Boxing Magazine, which is available to everyone around the globe for free. If you want the hard copy, all you got to do is pay for postage to wherever you may be, or you can download the magazine anytime you want. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing magazine, which is on the right-hand side. But, hey, it's that time again.
Blast from the past. We shine the spotlight again on fighters from years past.
top-ranking Joe Louis is the leading contender.
Joe Frazier with a left hook. Good right hand thrown by Foreman that time. Look at that left hook. Belt that goes to Ray Mancini.
It's Blast from the Past on Talkin' Boxing.
And this week's Blast from the Past, which is being sponsored by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Features kind of an obscure fighter. And we've been trying to educate you on some of these guys. And this week, we're talking about a former world heavyweight title challenger, Nathan Mann. And joining me at a new time, but he's the same guy, is my man, Alex Pierpaoli. What's up, brother?
Good morning, Billy C. How are you doing?
Even you sound like you got some more energy, and you used to not be a morning person, right?
Oh, I still am not.
Oh,
but I can act.
Okay. That's right. I forgot. You're an actor. That's right. You're an actor. Okay. All right. Well, listen. You're acting like you're a morning person. You know. So and the good thing, the camera's not on you, so you're still in your feety pajamas. But hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But hey, we've been having a lot of fun, and we've been getting a lot of positive response. I know some of the diehards might get a little uptight because we dabble in some other areas, but we dabble just enough to be dangerous and then get out before we have to really, get into it. But like politics, you're the guy that, when we have a real issue, not these BS issues, but when real political issues come up, we got to have you come on to set the record straight. But
you don't want to talk about whose wife is hotter?
No. To me, that's fun stuff for like me and Jeremy C. We can fool around with that, but I know you take it a little more seriously than that. So I would look to you for more guidance in the real part of the picture, not the reality TV show part that I enjoy, But
it's a pretty startling election season, that's for sure. When you have Anderson Cooper saying, and rightly so, that Trump was using the argument of a 5-year-old last night. I think that's getting retweeted a lot.
Just to say this, the thing that bothers me, and you and I have talked about this off air. The thing that bothers me is that both major political parties have really lost sight of what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, the party is, it's like a union. It's for the union, it's for the party. Regardless of whether you agree with us or not, you vote for what we tell you to vote for. And that's not the intent of what it's supposed to do. And the bottom line is all of this stuff that these guys are doing. It makes it so difficult. I mean, it's comical, and the news networks are supposed to be reporting the news, not like what I do, but they're supposed to report facts, and they're like stimulating opinions, and it's, to me, that's not right either, so I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody really gets the right answer from anyone, so I don't even know if anybody asks a real question anymore either, though, you know what I mean? So
yeah, we've gone right off the rails.
I know. But anyway, let's get back on to the boxing rail. Nathan Mann, interesting character. He's your neighbor, or was, right?
He really was. I live in the same town. He's from Hamden, Connecticut, and he's closer to New Haven than I am. Hamden, it's bordered by Cheshire, North Haven, New Haven, and he was more in the south side of Hamden, closer to New Haven. But yeah, he's an old timer, that's for sure. And in terms of a who's who of heavyweight opponents, he certainly has that. To his credit, and he is a member of the Connecticut Boxing Hall of Fame. In terms of local guys, this is really a local guy who made good, that's for sure.
He was a guy that another one of our you see the trend. We've been picking a lot of Italian fighters, and people would look at Nathan Mann and say, what are you talking about, Italian? But what's his birth name, Alex? He was actually born way back May 3rd, 1915, and his birth name is Natale Menchetti. Exactly. And it's so I mean, I don't think fighters do that anymore today, but they definitely did back in the earlier eras where they would, campaign under a different name because of the way the country was. I mean, there were people prejudiced against Italians, so they changed their name. There was many Italian fighters that actually changed their name to Irish names because at that time, the times, in the early 1900s all the way up until until after Rocky Marciano, the Irish were in a better state than the Italians. So they would change their name to an Irish name so that they could, get more fights and be more, accepted by the public, etc. And this is just another example of it.
Absolutely, and I think the novelist and historian Gore Vidal used to call this the United States of amnesia, and I think that's one of the things that people tend to forget is that we have a long history of bigotry, and in the time of Nathan Mann's and anti-immigrant sentiments that just run pretty deep in this country. And in Nathan Mann's time, it was mostly against Jews, against Italians, New Haven, Hamden area, and even still to this day, it's hard to believe because there's such a rich Italian heritage here. But even just stories in my own family, one side of my family did shorten their name. Take the Italian sounding part, just hacked it right off the end, hacked off like the last 4 or 5 letters. That's very clear. It seems as if that's probably what Nathan Mann did in order to make himself a little more marketable at the time. But he got into boxing at 15 years old. I think I said he grew up in the State Street area, which is one of the big streets here that there's several big, avenues, if you will, or boulevards, and everything kind of shoots off of them. One is State Street, one's Whitney Avenue, another one's Dixwell. And so he came in an Italian neighborhood there, and 15 years old, he was working on a heavy bag in his garage, and that was the spring of 1930, and he, was got into the sport. It really, as I said, he was born May 3rd, 1915, and 5'10", so small for today's heavyweights, that's for sure. And a lot of times we're talking 195 pounds. And when we get to the championship boxing game, he doesn't do so hot against some of the monsters of today. But yeah, very strong puncher, very sturdy guy, and just one of those type of guys that'll fight anybody, and had a really tremendous following locally, and that was something that really just was an inspiration to people of similar heritage. When he did end up fighting Joe Louis, there was about 10 to 20,000. I mean, numbers they're kind of guessing. In the arena, rather, had about 20,000-30,000, but they had filled train cars specifically from Hamden neighborhoods to go to the Garden to support him there. So it was definitely one of those situations where the local guy gets the big shot at the big time.
When you watch, as a matter of fact, that Joe Louis Nathan Mann fight is available to watch on YouTube, and it's so amazing because Joe Louis, that was like his hometown, so to speak, in terms of his boxing career. He fought so many fights at Madison Square Garden, and to hear the fan base was clearly behind Nathan Mann in that fight. I mean, when they announced him, the announcer had to pause just to let the applause go down, and every time he threw one of his wild punches, the crowd went crazy. One thing I just wanted to add about him getting into boxing, hitting the heavy bag in his garage. Interesting, he was discovered by a truck driver. I don't know if you caught that, but a guy was making a delivery from a bakery, and the guy was a former boxer and always wanted to get into training. His name was Bill Reynolds. And he saw the kid hitting the bag and said, "Hey, kid, you got some potential." And the rest of it was history. I mean, in that Lewis fight, did you get a chance to watch it?
Yeah, that's he was doing pretty well.
The first round,
in the first round, that's for sure. And even the second was kind of close, but then really Lewis really showed why he was the great that we always thought of him. But that was one of the things that was interesting going into the fight. People did think that he had a chance because one of the things that Mann had that Lewis had always shown a susceptibility to is a big right hand. And you could see one of the first punches of the fight, Mann catches Lewis with a real hard shot with a right, and a sort of Schmeling-ish right hand. But on this night, Joe Louis was not going to be denied. The thing that was sort of interesting was that it really did seem as if this period of Lewis's career. I'm not sure if you'd throw Mann in as one of those bum of the months, but it was sort of the age of the bum of the month. He was a top 10 heavyweight contender. The heavyweight division overall was maybe not as exceptional as it was in other periods during Lewis's reign. But again, this is a guy who he had fights with Buddy Bear. He had fights with Al McCoy. He had fights with Arturo Godoy. So he was somebody who was contending with a lot of these guys. Now, some of them, they were mostly defeats. McCoy, he went back and forth with Al McCoy, but with traded wins with him. But the Buddy Bear was the one who he fought right after Joe Louis, and he knocked him out as well. And even has a fight with Gus Lesnovich. I mean, there's a lot of guys on his career. I mean, in his on his ledger that were big names of the age.
No, there's no doubt. And the thing about Nathan Mann was that, yeah, he had power, and he wasn't a big guy like you mentioned, but he had no defense. I mean, if the guy could block just a little bit. Now listen, Joe Louis, I mean, when you watch Joe Louis fight Nathan Mann, I think you really have to you will see how talented Joe Louis was. I mean, he was very calm, cool, and collective in there and patient, but he was an expert at delivering those short, compact, knock-you-out punches, which he demonstrated with Nathan Mann. But the thing was is that, talk about a chin, and just to comment on your Bum of the Month, they technically call the Bum of the Month Club 1939 to 41. He actually fought Joe Louis in 1938. But the names that they claim as bums of the month are not bums by today. And I'm convinced that most of them, if not all, would have been champions. I mean, John Henry Lewis, Johnny Paycheck, Clarence Borman, like you mentioned, Gus Durazo, Abe Simon, Tony Musto. These are all guys that were considered bums in that era. And I'm not so sure they were bums, Tony Galento. I mean, they might have looked it. They might have been bums compared to Joe Louis, but compared to today's crop of heavyweights, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think that's the thing to really consider is that it's always in the context of the age, and comparatively, when you compare one age to another, what they call bums today would probably do very well.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He grew up as a farm laborer, and after boxing, he got into, he owned a bar and subsequently a liquor salesman. But one interesting quote I got from him was right after the Joe Louis fight, in which, he was knocked down in the final round. He was knocked down 3 times and then finally couldn't get up where he was knocked out in the 3rd round. He says, and I quote, this is Nathan Mann quote, he says, "Louis can sure punch." He said, "I must have run into a good left in the 2nd round. I don't remember a thing from then until I heard them counting me out. I didn't even see the punch that did it." And that's what I'm talking about with Joe Louis. He had those short, compact power shots. And for a guy that virtually had no defense, Alex, I'm not surprised he didn't see it coming.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, it's always, because I did find a quote about that fight as well, and that's always, some of the color of the day that is fun to hear. He mentioned after being stopped, he said, "To tell the truth, I heard 10, but awful faintly." So it does show you that he was out. But yeah, I do think that he, I might have said he was grew up on the south side of Hamden. That's incorrect. It was actually the east side. But there was a tribute to him right here at the library where is down the street from me. In 2001, they made a nice little. They had like a Nate Mann Day, and
they still have that?
Well, they did. I don't know if it was. It seemed like it was a local thing, not so much a statewide. But yeah, that was. They had a little get together at the library, and then a subsequent one. They had a fight night in Hamden, and one of the awards, one of the trophies, was like dedicated, like the Nathan Mann Memorial type trophy, that kind of thing. But yeah, there's one of the former mayors here of Hamden I found an article about where he just talked about really admiring this guy, and he mentioned, like you said, how against Joe Louis he made $24,000, which that's a pretty big purse for 1938. And with that money, he bought the Rose Garden restaurant right here on State Street in Hamden.
It's still there?
I'm not sure. I wanted to look that up to see if it has changed hands. It doesn't ring a bell, but there's so many restaurants around here that it could be that it's changed hands a few times and has a new name. But yeah, he was one of 8 children as well. And he, they say he was quiet, but great guy, loved golf, and in fact, one of his kids went on to become a really good golfer locally.
Well, if he's still with us today, he would be 100 years old and soon to be 101 in May. But his big, not only did he challenge for the world heavyweight title, but he actually held on to the New England heavyweight championship for over 8 years, which I thought was pretty impressive too. But how did he? Do you have any final thoughts on him?
Well, I tell you, he did die. I was unable to find. I was even asking the people at the ladies at the library to help me out, and we could not find an obituary. But it does appear that when he did pass away, he was living in. He had retired to Florida. As so many people do. Italians are not. But it was. I guess he suffered from arthritis, but I didn't get a cause of death. Could have been old age. I mean, he was in his 80s.
He was 84. So. He died. My records show he died in October of '99 at 84 years old. So, and I didn't see anywhere where he was penniless and broke and all of that. So, despite taking some of those hellacious shots by Joe Louis and others. The guy was only stopped 5 times of his 12 losses, and he does have 74 wins. I mean, it's amazing that no one's ever heard of the guy. It's just an era. There was so many other bigger names that got the press.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things. Like I mentioned that there was the ethnic groups that were, suffered some discrimination. The Italians were one of them, and one article I was looking at was saying that it was some of it could have been they were still feeling the effects of being associated with Mussolini. So of course that was an enemy of the United States, and that could have been one of the reasons for some of the disliking that some Italians felt. But
listen, all I could say is
ever in this area, you could see that people are pretty much over that.
No, I know.
There's Italians everywhere.
I tell you, real quick, the movie Scarface with Al Pacino?
Yeah.
All right. The movie Scarface with Al Pacino, centers around a Cuban guy and cocaine and everything else. Well, the original movie was put out in the 30s, early 30s, and it's the same exact storyline, even with the obsession with the sister and everything else. Same exact storyline, except one change. Well, 2 changes. One, it wasn't cocaine that they were dealing with. It was booze, liquor. And it wasn't the Cubans. It was the Italians that were the bad guys. So it all depends what era they do stuff in. I mean, they were the bad guys of that era, so they were the ones the movie was made about. But
right.
Anyway, how did he make out in the Title Bout Championship computer game?
Well, I thought that he. I tried to play with some of the top guys just to try to get some better results, because when I put him in against Tyson Fury, he just did not do so well, and I think it's mainly the size differential, the height and reach just really gave him trouble. It seemed like a dull fight. Fury won when they had them fight the first time. Nathan Mann was down in the 12th, and he ends up losing a decision, 118 to 108, and 2 scores of 115 to 111. And then when they fought 100 times, he fared a little better. He did pick up 43 victories, but Fury dominated with 52 wins, 5 draws. Mann had 27 stoppages, and of Fury's 52 victories, he was able to stop Nathan Mann 28 times. Vlad Klitschko, it was sort of similar. Actually, Klitschko dominated him a lot. The first time they fought, it was very similar in that Klitschko won a unanimous decision, 116 to 110, 116 111, 117 to 109. Again, he also dropped and battered Nathan Mann, especially in the 12th round. When they go 100 times, Mann ends up with a record of 3 victories, 94 defeats, 3 draws. Of those, this shows what a big puncher he was. Of those 3 wins, they were all by KO. Vlad Klitschko stopped him 68 times out of the 94 wins. Then I put him in against two smaller heavyweights of today, just to see if that would change things. Against Povetkin, he did win when they fought the first time. 116-111. It was a majority decision. 116-111, 114-113, and one score even of 113 apiece. But this was definitely the better matchup. Povetkin was down in the 7th. Mann was down in the 11th. When they go 100 times, Mann still is comes up on the short end, but he does a little better. 37 victories, 52 defeats, 11 draws. He scored 11 knockouts. Povetkin was able to stop him 21 times. And the guy he does best against is Luis Ortiz. When they fight the first time, it's a unanimous decision for Nate Mann, 117-112 twice, and 115-114. When they go 100 times, Mann gets the better of him, 60 victories, 32 defeats, 8 draws, 22 KOs. Ortiz scored 13 KOs of his 32 wins.
Interesting. But great
job.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting game because there's a lot of things that, I think that especially when you deal with a guy from that era, there's just that sort of mental toughness that, you can't really quantify, but I would think that they're a little more, their constitution is more than today's guys, and you kind of see that when you get them to fight 100 times.
I agree with that 100%, but it's not just boxing. I think it's across the board with every sport and just basically humanity right now. But great job as usual, Alex. Nathan Mann, this week's blast from the past. He was a former world heavyweight title challenger. He was also a former New England heavyweight champion for over 8 years. He was inducted into the Connecticut Hall of Fame in 2006. He had a career record, 74 wins, 45 by knockout, 12 losses with only 5 by knockout. He did have a solid chin, despite, if you watch the video of Joe Louis battering him around. But he did have 4 draws, and his knockout percentage was slightly above 50%. So Nathan Mann, our blast from the past this week. And like I said, great job, Alex. And, real quick, I got about a minute, and I'd like to get you back on later in the week to talk more. But what was your quick assessment of the Andre Ward fight?
I thought, I can't remember a guy who's been off as long as he has. I mean, he's fought once in, 28 months. I can't remember ever seeing a guy whose reflexes and defense seemed as sharp as that with such a long layoff. I mean, if you just compare him to like a Sugar Ray Leonard, he was fighting somebody along the lines of Kevin Howard, and he certainly looked better than Leonard did in that fight. I think it's a little unfair to think, to measure how he looked against Kovalev. I think that fight's going to look very different. I think he'll fight very differently against him. I think it might be duller against Kovalev because he's going to have to use distance and use a lot more defense, because it would be crazy to stay in the pocket with Kovalev as much as he did with Barrera. That said, I do think he would do well, but it's one of those tantalizing matchups because you really have in Kovalev you have everything that could be a problem for that style, in that he's fearless, he's aggressive, and he throws lots of punches, and that's how you beat a really good defensive, guy who uses distance so masterfully, is you overwhelm him with offense. And I think Kovalev is the kind of guy who could do that. Personally, I don't think there's any rush into that fight. I'd rather see Kovalev-Stevenson first. I mean, to me, that's unfinished business, and I think it's part of the problems with the sport now, because we have these sort of two leagues. You have HBO fighters who are only going to fight HBO fighters, and Showtime fighters who are only going to fight Showtime fighters, and they're trying to make the biggest match possible, and Ward Kovalev is one of them. But that said, I do think it'll be an interesting fight, but I think Ward should should definitely fight one more time at light heavyweight at least to get a little sharper than jump right into Kovalev. That just doesn't make sense.
Good points, and I agree. The sport's in some trouble, and I've always tried to, not feel that way, but it's hard not to at this point. It's comical. But
yeah,
anyway.
There's a lot of head-scratching decisions, and I mean, is Jim Ross that wrestling announcer? Are we going to hear him for the first time this weekend on this PBC card? Because that's another thing that to me is just it does definitely smack of what Coach is saying, is that, boys, it's seeming like wrestling when you actually have the voice of a wrestling announcer in the that's now going to be doing boxing. I'm not too excited about that.
Well, all the antics too, and some of this PR stuff. It's very similar, and they very well may be following that blueprint. But I also see lots of fingers in the leaking holes of the dike with the PBC right now. So we'll see if they can keep the water in, or the dam will burst. So we'll. And I was talking about a dam, not the dike up the street. But anyway, hey, listen, Alex, great job, and hopefully that was terrible for you to say that, Alex. But that's something we can we can talk more about the Ward fight tomorrow or Friday, because I'm hoping to open up the lines and we'll get some in-depth thoughts. All right.
All right, sounds good, Billy C. Take care.
All right, man. Take care. That's my man, Alex Pierpaoli. I got to take a break. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C. Morning Show will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Broadcasting in all corners of the globe. On the web and radio.
He would scoff at the stretch of that man, I would think. You're listening to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. From upstate New York in the good old US of A.
Boxing is here to stay because we are here to stay.
The best 2 hours of boxing talk on the airwaves.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Glad you guys could join us, and especially ESPN New Hampshire. Glad we're part of your sports programming, and we love to be part of ESPN New Hampshire sports programming. Hey, if you're tuning in a little bit late, we do touch on some other sports, and we've kind of adopted a Division III college baseball team, the Owls. And the Keene State Owls. Check it out, man. They're playing today. Any support you can give them would be appreciated. If you go to our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Owls banner, which is located on the left-hand side, you can see where they're playing. And if you're going to be in the area, go check out a game. They're 7-7. We've taken them on. And we hope that their season goes in a positive direction from now. It's basically a young team, and they're doing well considering. So check it out and let me know what you think. Some news real quick before I get into some emails here. Gamboa, Yuriorkis Gamboa signed with BB Promotions, a new promotional team out of Barcelona, Spain. So we'll see if they can help him any. Earlier in this show, I was talking about how boxing has become more like the wrestling, WWE, And one of the comparisons I used is that Billy Joe Saunders is calling out and talking smack against Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs is calling smack about him. Both of them aren't mentioned the real middleweight that everybody should be going after, and that's Triple G. And it's kind of funny, speaking of Triple G, Billy Joe Saunders, after he beat Bursak, he said, I want, now that I'm a champion and now that as soon as he gets past Bursak, I should say, at the end of this month, he says, now that I become a champ, now that I've grown into myself physically and as well as my beliefs, I believe that I need to get a crack at Triple G. It would be a massive fight. I'll be able to show the world I'm the best, but first things first, I fight Max Bursak on April 30th. So we'll see if that happens. Canelo Alvarez against Amir Khan, a pay-per-view that's taking place on May 7th. They officially announced the undercard, at least as of now. David Lemieux is taking on Glenn Tapia, which I think is going to be a good fight. Mauricio Herrera going up against Frankie the Pitbull Gomez, who's undefeated, by the way, 20-0. And Patrick Teixeira is taking on Curtis Stevens on that one. So pretty decent undercard for Canelo Khan. Some emails. Let's get to some of those. This first one I have is from Raheem. He says, good morning, Billy C. This is Raheem. I love the morning show, and I almost got fired at my job the other day listening to it on my iPhone, but I'm still a fan, Billy C. And I want to ask you why Thurman is getting so much dirt thrown at him because of his injury. I think he needs to heal properly so he can take on the best, and he can prove once he's healthy that he could be well on his way to beating Floyd's record of 49-0. How long will it take him to recover and be back and set to fight? And what advice would you give him as far as a comeback and who to fight? The thing is this, Raheem. He's getting a lot of slack, or I should say flack, for backing out of that fight because of the injury. It's not so much an injury because every fighter has injuries. The nature of the injury and some of the stuff that came out about it is what I think is really bothering people. Like, for example, he wasn't injured enough to go back into sparring for a couple of days. And then after that, next thing you know, his doctor tells him that you need to stop sparring for a week. Now, this was only a bruise with the alleged accident. And yet they cancel the fight. They reschedule it 3 months later. He's already scheduled to fight Porter. I believe that he's a little nervous about Sean Porter. Sean Porter isn't going to wither up and go away. And then there was the issues of the money. Some people were in his ear saying he wasn't getting paid enough. So there's more to the story. There's more to the story for sure. So, listen, I'm a Keith Thurman fan, but it was very disappointing that that whole back out happened. Thanks for the email. My man Jesse says, Billy C., can you send me a link to your show? I knew it, Jesse. Sometimes you were, with some of these questions, I'm like, didn't this guy listen to the show? What do you, just email us and you don't listen? Anyway, I did send him some emails, and for anybody that happens to stumble across the show, doesn't know how to watch it, even though they're watching it and stumble across it, and even though you know how to email me and stuff, don't forget, we can be picked up live or whenever you want on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING. And you can also get the podcast. We're with a new podcast company. Our show is available now on iTunes and Stitcher and the Android product line. So check it out. You can just search Billy C. Morning Show on any of those platforms, or just go to KHZ Audio. We have a nice link on our website, so you can get there and get your iTunes or Android to download the show as soon as it's posted. So check that out. He says, Billy, I would really like to see Brooks versus Spence. And this is Jesse. He says, this should be a fireworks fight. I think the experience will prevail for Brooks, but if Spence can't keep it close, he has a major chance if he can keep it close. I think Brooks, I think he's still, I hate to say this because this goes against what I say all the time, but I think he's still developing. But he's there. This is a top-notch guy. In his last fight against Kevin Bizier, he did what he was supposed to do, and dominate the fight, and he did. I don't think Errol Spence Jr. is ready for Kell Brook, but we'll have to wait to see. He says, Billy, do you think Jose Luis Castillo will be a Hall of Famer? The man had heart and power, but no defense and no real boxing skill. I saw Castillo versus Hatton, and he just didn't look like the same old Castillo. I think at his best, Castillo would have beaten Hatton that night or any other night. He was never the same after the Corrales fights. What's your thoughts? He's definitely a Hall of Famer. I think he's hung on too long, and, I disagree. I think he had more skill than you see, Jess, but I think he's definitely a Hall of Famer, no question about it. He says, finally, what's your thoughts on Edwin Valerio? Can you do a blast on the pass on him? He was another guy on the way to Hall of Fame, but his demons could just knock him out. I think you meant to say his demons, he just couldn't knock out. Okay, yeah, his demons he just couldn't knock out. I thought he showed promise. I think he took his life and checked out way too soon for us to really get the full gauge on Valero, and maybe we will do a blast on him sometime in the future. Thanks for the email. Hall of Famer, it's hard to say. He just, he had a couple of good fights. I think the plate in his head would have hurt him, and for those that don't know, he was involved in, I believe, a motorcycle accident and ended up getting a plate inserted in his head. So he was limited at where he could fight. Any place that would require a head scan sees a plate in your head, and they're not going to let you fight. So I think that would have haunted him at some point as well. My man Juggernaut says, hey, okay, Billy C. He says, if you could choose Ward's next two opponents to get him ready to fight Kovalev, who would you choose? I would choose Cleverly and then Fonfara. Even though these guys don't hit as hard as Kovalev, they're long and throw a lot of punches and come to fight. I would pick these guys with power, but all the guys with high knockout percentage, you really haven't fought anyone or really been tested. I would pick Marcus Brown, but I don't think that would get Ward ready since Brown is a southpaw. I like the Fonfara fight, and I think Cleverly, isn't he? Did he move back down? I know he moved up to cruiserweight, but Nathan Cleverly wouldn't be a bad fight either. But I think I like Fonfara as a potential opponent, although you're not going to see it because he's with Al Heyman, he's with Showtime. I think that Fonfara brings that tough attitude and that nonstop, and you got to really kill him to stop him type fight mentality. His game plans are along those lines. I think he would be a better preparation than Brown and Cleverly. But that's my thoughts personally. I disagree with making him fight some more fights. I say fight him now. But especially for a guy in Ward who's saying he's gonna win the light heavyweight world title, then move up and win the heavyweight world title. I don't see that happening. He's just not strong enough. He's talented, but he's not strong enough, and I just don't see it happening. James Keith says his subject is 20 for 20. Now, we were talking about out of our 16 Billy C Challenge players, I believe 7 got 20 out of 20 right. 5 got 19 out of 20 right, and the last 4 of the people got either 17 or 18 out of 20 right. And my comments the other day were, do we have the best, fight handicappers playing our challenge, or has boxing become so predictable? I believe the latter. James Keister says, hey, Billy C., I hear what you're saying about the current mismatches. I do, meaning he does agree. He says, but like the WWE, the guy who's supposed to win wins. That being said, I'd like to think that 7 of us that got the 20 out of 20 nailed it because we've learned a bit about boxing from your show. It may be conceit, but I think it's a justified one. Thanks for the kudos, James, because that's the way I'm taking it as. I'm taking it as an accolade, and I appreciate that. And maybe you got a point there, James. So maybe James is right. Maybe for all you that watch and listen to this show and actually listen to what I say, maybe you too could get 20 out of 20 in your next fight or challenge or whatever. So I think that's pretty much all my emails. I think I finally caught up on them. I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I missed any here because I thought I had a couple more. But if I missed your email, if you had sent me an email recently and I missed it, I apologize. So make sure you get those to me. Some stuff I wanted to talk about real quick. non-boxing before we get into some stuff that took place on this day in history. Plus, we got a really good prize for our trivia question, which incidentally we're going to modify a little bit. Not the question, today's question, but in the future we're going to go with some other sports topics as well. But as you guys know, I'm a New York Jets fan, and when we're talking about NFL football, and the big news with the Jets right now is that at least as I came on air, that they still haven't signed their quarterback from last year, Fitzpatrick. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, in my opinion, and if you're a Jets fan or just a football fan, Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a guy that deserves the money he's asking for. And quite frankly, I don't even think he deserves the $8 million that the Jets offered him. And we're talking for 1 year, by the way. Ryan Fitzpatrick is looking to get twice that, $16 million. And it's not that he's out of his mind, because Osweiler, who was the backup quarterback to Peyton Manning with the Denver Broncos, who incidentally won the Super Bowl, got some outrageous deal for $18 million a year. I think it was a 4 or 5 year deal that he signed. And you look at a guy who played, I believe, 6 games. He started 6 games, and to get that kind of money. And Fitzpatrick's been around a long time. But here's the thing. Fitzpatrick he's not a great quarterback. The Jets have some talent, and I do believe, and I hate to say it, but I do believe that the guys that are on that team right now, Geno Smith, who I'm not a big fan of, and Bryce Petty, who I am a big fan of, could get the job done. I think that the Jets should hold strong to their decision to not go past $8 million for Ryan Fitzpatrick and let Ryan go. I don't think they need to pay him that kind of money. I think that we saw the real Ryan Fitzpatrick in the Buffalo game, the last game of the season, which everything was on the line on that game. If the Jets win that game, they're in the playoffs. And you know how the playoffs are in the NFL. You don't know where you're going to end up in the playoffs. You just got to get in, And even though he was on a hot streak the last half a dozen weeks of the season, the game that mattered the most, he choked. What was it, 3 interceptions? He played in front of his old team, and he choked, and we lost that game. The Jets lost that game. That is the real Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I think the Jets would be making a huge mistake, not only for the future of the team, but financially for the team, to give Ryan Fitzpatrick the money he's seeking. Now, with that said, I do believe he's worth what the Jets are offering him. For $8 million, I mean, for $8 million, I'll pretty much do anything, But for him, we could get another year out of him. But anybody from the Jets, if you're listening, forget about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let's move on to the Mets. Yeah, I'm going to talk about a couple of teams that I like. The Mets, baseball season getting ready to start. I'm getting psyched for it. I'm a Mets fan, and I love the Mets. And I think that the Mets surprised everybody last year by making it to the World Series. I also feel that the Mets played the World Series like they were happy to be there. They were not playing to win. I do believe this year is the Cubbies' year. I think that the Chicago Cubs are going to be the team to beat, and I think that we're going to find them in the World Series. However, the Mets have assembled a pretty solid team, almost the same team that's coming back, but the nucleus of that team is their pitching staff. They have probably the best starting rotation in the major leagues. I think if the Mets pitchers can stay healthy and that the manager doesn't overmanage, which he has a tendency to do at times, Terry Collins, I'm not a big fan of his, but if the Mets can get their bats going, and I also believe that as much as I like Cespedes with the Mets, and I applaud the Mets for making that deal happen to get him back. He single-handedly carried the Mets into the playoffs, I believe. But I don't like him at center. I wish they would rotate him and move him to left field and put Lagares at center. Juan Lagares is the best defensive center on the Mets, and you can make the argument that he's the best defensive center in majors, or at least one of the top 3 defensive center fielders in baseball. He got out of shape last year and was pathetic at the plate. He went back to the drawing board. He looks pretty good. I'm not a big spring training guy. I don't watch a lot of it because just like preseason football, I'm not a big fan of it. But the truth of the matter is that he did recognize that maybe some of his struggles last year were self-inflicted. And he subsequently made some corrections. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play center. You can't justify taking Cespedes out of the lineup and putting in Lagares. But Cespedes, as good of a bat as he is, he's a liability in center. So why not move Cespedes to left field? Move him to left field and have him in the lineup and keep Juan Lagares at center. And then if you have to platoon Lagares with Concho or whatever his name is, Conchas, the normal left fielder, then you pull out Lagares, you put the other left fielder in, and then slide Cespedes over to center. And it's the same thing if you have some platoon players, helping right field. Same thing. But you can't keep Juan Lagares on the bench, in my opinion, for Cespedes' bat when Cespedes is clearly a liability as a fielder. That's just my opinion. Just some quick thoughts on my two teams, NFL and my baseball team. Now, on tomorrow's show, we're going to be opening up the phone lines. So we'll get your thoughts. You guys are going to drive the show tomorrow and Friday. So we're hoping that you call us with your opinions, thoughts on anything, boxing or any other sport or even politics, as we were talking about today a little bit. But here's the thing. If you're watching on a replay or if you're listening to the podcast on KHZ Audio or iTunes or Android or Stitcher, make sure you tune in tomorrow to be part of the show live. We air 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern time right on. You could check. The easiest way to get us really is the YouTube stream, youtube.com/talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING, or you could just visit www.billycboxing.com and catch us there. But now it's time for
Wake Up. It's time for the It's Too Early for a Trivia Question.
A lot of people asked me about, why do we have it called It's Too Early for a Trivia Question? Well, when we first came up with the trivia question about 10 years ago, we were doing the early show. That's when we were doing, 5 to 7 a.m. And it was fitting that it was too early to be testing your brains for trivia. I want to give a shout out to my man, Coach. Coach is in the chat room, and he's loyal to this show. In more ways than one. Not only does he hang out in the chat room and give us his comments and thoughts and stuff live, but he also contributes with the pen and paper. You can check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. It's on the right-hand side. And also StrictlyBusinessBoxing.com is his home base, so you could check out that website. Now, you very rarely hear me mention other websites, but that's one to definitely check out. My man, Coach, appreciate your support, my man. Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is being sponsored by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. If you're looking for a unique spice that makes everything taste better, check out Kenny Bears. Now, if you're like me, living in the Northeast, it's getting to be barbecue season. Now, if you're like other people that don't care what time of year it is and you live in a nice sunny place where you can barbecue anytime, just remember Kenny Bear's barbecue rub is great for barbecue, but it's great on everything else, man. Trust me when I tell you, it brings out the flavors of any food you're eating. It tastes different on chicken than it does on beef, etc., etc. Check it out, www.billycboxing.com. Click on the Southern Gourmet Spice banner and make sure you tell them Billy C sent you. Now, today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question, which was supplied to us by Henry Haskell, is one that's been floating around. It's a boxing trivia question, and it's a who am I question, and I'm going to give you a big hint, a couple of big hints after this. The question is this: I once stopped a world champion in less than a round, and then in my very next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? I once stopped the world champion in less than a round, and then in my very next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, which is worth some money. So check that out. Now, here's the hints. I once stopped the world champion in less than one round, and then in my very next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? The hint, this guy was a world champion. He was a world champion, the guy who we're looking for, the Who Am I guy. He was a world champion. And these fights we're talking about took place before 1920. They took place before 1920. If you know the answer and you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Good luck to everyone on that one.
This day in boxing history.
And finally, this day in boxing history, she's being brought to us by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, the Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold, and you could literally get a copy of my book right now by visiting Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Now, if you're looking to get a signed copy, you can go up to our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section and follow the directions. Now, if you go to live events and you see me, definitely come up to me because I always have copies with me, and I sell them, I sign them and sell them at a discount price. And if you're going to be going to the International Boxing Hall of Fame this year, same thing. We'll have a table at the card show, so why don't you come on in and get yourself a copy. On this day, March 30th in 1965, Jose Torres knocks out Willie Pastrana in the 10th round to win the World Light Heavyweight title. Took place in New York City, Madison Square Garden, exactly. On this day in 1990, Chris Tizio wins a 12-round decision over In Chul Bak to win the WBA Super Middleweight title. Took place in France. On this day in 2002, Ricardo Mayorga knocks out Andrew Sixheads Lewis in the 5th round to win the WBA World Welterweight title. It took place in Pennsylvania. And on this day in 1979, conditional NHL franchise teams are awarded to 4 WHA teams as part of a merger between the two leagues, the NHL and the WHA. The 4 teams that were added to the NHL in 1979, the Winnipeg Jets, the Edmonton Oilers, the Quebec Nordiques, and the Hartford Whalers. Interesting. I thought that the Oilers were a much older team. I didn't realize that they didn't get into the NHL until 1979. So, hey, man, that concludes our show for today. Oh, by the way, I've been getting a lot of inquiries about these mugs. You know, the Billy C Morning Show mug is pretty cool. It's got our logo on it, and I can get them. They're not cheap. It's a ceramic mug. It's basically a no-frills mug. But anywhere in the United States, we can get you this, including shipping, for $25. They cost $20, these damn things, plus the shipping. They have to be packaged, you know, nice so that they're not busted up and stuff. But $25. If you're interested in one, you gotta email me for the directions. We're not planning on getting tons and tons of them, but a lot of people want them. You know, we were fooling around with them the other day, and people want them, so I'm making them available. So if you want it, email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Oh, and I got this to tell you, too. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. And remember, you're driving the show tomorrow, so we're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to hear from you. Until then, ciao, baby.